What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. I saw this tweet last night. Does anyone else find it confusing and concerning that Jay Stratton is going on skinwalker cruises instead of skiffs and congressional hearings, and that Representative Burleson said Grush told him he's not a person of interest for UAP information? Yes, Astral. Wait till you see my video about this tomorrow. I've been thinking the same thing. Well, tomorrow is today. And today, we look into Jay Stratton and why I'm going to convince you he should absolutely be testifying in the UFO hearing. It's an outrage while he's not, because by the end of this video, you're probably going to be irate of why he's not even being considered. So let me convince you why Jay Stratton is so important to testify. Now, this is Jay Stratton here. Right, as you can see, he's also known as John F. Stratton, so he might be referred to that somewhere in this video. But before we get going any further, let's cover the viral clip of Eric Burleson talking about Jay Stratton, which prompted Astral's entire tweet and me making this video entirely, because up to this point, I'm thinking, yeah, they're working with Jay Stratton. They're going to be having him testify. Absolutely. And then Representative Eric Burleson says this.
Hey, Eric, how's it going, man? I had a couple, just two questions for you, really. Have you and the task force, have y'all spoken to Jay Stratton at all since it was put together?
No, we have not.
Have y'all wanted to look into, since he's Lou's boss and everything, have y'all at least inquired about it?
Is there a reason why you haven't specifically looked at Jay Stratton? Has he just not come across your desk, or have you been? Is there any mention of him at all?
Yes, I mean his name has come up multiple times. It's not one of the ones that Grush seems to see as a high profile or somebody that is a priority.
Not a priority. What? Again, I'm going to convince you in this video why he is absolutely a priority. All right, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year. First thing, he has a book coming out. Right here, you can see in this Deadline article, HarperCollins acquires rights to Bombshell memoir from Jay Stratton, former director of U.S. government's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. And inside the article, it says this. Stratton is the most senior former U.S. government official to go public about their direct involvement in the investigation of UAP and non-human intelligence. He's dedicated more time to UAP-related issues than any other government official, actively shaping and directing U.S. policy and investigation in this complex field. At the time of his retirement, he was the civilian equivalent rank of a two-star general or admiral, a level reached by less than 1% of all federal employees. He served the U.S. for over 32 years, both on the battlefield and as a senior member of the national intelligence community, actively contributing to the U.S. president's daily briefing on national security. But hey, he's not a priority. What? I'm not done. I have so much more. He has a documentary coming out called The Age of Disclosure. Have you heard of this?
Are we alone in the universe? The question is back in the spotlight as government officials speak out in a new documentary.
I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
An explosive documentary is setting out to prove aliens are real and the government is covering it up. The new film, The Age of Disclosure, claims to reveal an 80-year cover-up of the existence of non-human intelligent life and a secret war amongst major nations to reverse engineer technology of non-human origin.
He's seen alien bodies. Here's both of the instances from the Age of Disclosure documentary where Jay Stratton, in a matter of seconds, explains why he's an absolute priority to be testifying in these hearings.
For over 16 years, on behalf of the U.S. government, I worked as a senior intelligence official on the unidentified aerial phenomenon topic. I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
And why is the Age of Disclosure so important? It's not just me saying it. Listen to Joe Rogan. Hal Puthoff.
The Age of Disclosure.
Amazing documentary.
It's an amazing documentary.
Really hope that gets released somewhere big, like Netflix.
That film comes out, that's going to be disclosure on steroids, I think.
And here he is telling Aaron Rodgers how important this documentary is. Again, the biggest podcast platform on the planet, talking about how important the Age of Disclosure is.
They think this documentary is going to break the well.
Really?
Or break the dam, rather. Yeah, they think this one's pretty intense.
Even sitting members of Congress are tweeting it out. Anna Paulina Luna, Tim Burchett, Moskowitz. What are we talking about? I mean, this is Representative Luna on Joe Rogan talking about the Age of Disclosure being shown to Congress behind the scenes.
There's a big documentary that was filmed about a year and a half ago, and we're trying to get a screening up on Capitol Hill.
The Age of Disclosure.
Yeah,
right?
I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
It's very good.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's very good, and it doesn't even have any like UFO footage. I mean, maybe like a little bit.
It's just testimony.
It's just testimony. And at the end of it, you kind of draw this conclusion like, oh, this makes sense. Like this, what they're essentially saying is one of the problems is if they have been funding these secret programs, then for all these years, they've been misappropriating money.
Oh, yeah. And they've been lying to Congress.
And again, Jay Stratton is a star of this movie. He's featured player. They show his clip all the time inside the trailer. That's like the bombshell moment in the trailer. But again, he's not a priority, according to David Grush. What? This doesn't make any sense why Grush would tell Burleson that, and why Burleson wouldn't understand everything I've laid out for you just so far, right? Of how important Jay Stratton is. But look, let's rewind a little bit. This is Travis Taylor, who's featured on the Skinwalker Ranch show. Well, he actually worked with Jay Stratton, and they were the ones who got David Grush to begin his investigation to begin with.
But they had UAP hearings, and one of the star witnesses was David, and I can't say his last name. Grush.
Yeah.
Who you know.
Yes.
And how do you know him?
Well, so Jay Stratton was the director of the UAP task force, and I was his chief scientist. And we had another guy that was kind of an equal level of Jay. Jay was the two-star admiral equivalent, and the other guy was in what is now Space Force. And we needed someone that could go and start looking through all the classified programs and see if they could find evidence of crash retrieval and old programs. And so the one guy that was in Space Force said, oh, I got a guy that's on contract for me right now that's good at that. And it was Dave Grush. And so we gave Dave the assignment, go and see what you can find out. And you see now on all the hearings what he found out. And there's a lot more to it that he can brief inside a
Right.
classified environment.
Right.
But Dave is the real deal. I mean, it was his assignment to go and figure this stuff out. And then there were times when he got to a door, they would either shut the door in his face or tell him if they asked that question again, bad things would happen. So I mean, and that's why we're like, well, the Inspector General needs to know about this. Congress needs to know about this.
So again, explain to me how Jay Stratton is not a priority here. Why is David Grush saying this? David Grush, according to Travis Taylor in the story, David Grush wouldn't even be where he's at without Jay Stratton. Now, we're going to sidetrack for a little bit here, okay? Stay with me. We're going to come back to Jay Stratton. But this is kind of interesting because while making this video, I noticed Travis Taylor say something in that clip on this Rick and Bubba show. There was another member at Space Force, right, who he doesn't name, who's like, hey, I got somebody, David Grush. Who is that? Who is this guy that recommended David Grush? And the follow-up question to Rick and Bubba should have said, why David Grush? Of all the people, why David Grush, right? Check this clip out of Luis Elizondo clearly admitting that he worked with David Grush back in the day at Space Force.
I worked with Dave at Space Force. I don't know if that's public knowledge, but I'll say it. What the hell?
And not only that, Luis Elizondo explains on another podcast how important the work him and David Grush did at Space Force. In fact, it outweighed, quote, the work done at ATIP and OSAP.
But there's a lot of people like Dave Grush who had to go through a lot worse than I did as far as repercussions. Within 24 hours, they tried to bury his career. And, love him or hate him, irrelevant. He is a patriot. And I worked with him at U.S. Space Force. I wasn't allowed to say where, but at this point, I don't care anymore because people are like, oh, well, he didn't really. Yes, he did. We worked in his SAP-F facility, a SCIF together, and our only job was UAP. And no one knows that. And I'll tell you right here and right now, for the first time, that's exactly what we were working on, and Space Force was paying us to do it. And this was after ATIP. So when people are saying, oh, well, there wasn't anything to see here, that's not true. And in fact, some of the most compelling data that we have right now in the U.S. government was a result of our time at Space Force, not at ATIP, because we had better technology, more capabilities, more persistence.
So everything that David Grush and Luis Elizondo found at Space Force was far better than all of this stuff and all this amazing stuff. And then no one asked Luis Elizondo about this while he's testifying. And David Grush too. Like, what are we talking about? And again, this all connects back to Jay Stratton. But my point of rabbit trailing here was, is Luis Elizondo the guy that actually got David Grush to go on the investigation? Is that who Travis Taylor is talking about at Space Force? Because he can't tell if Luis Elizondo's like, we worked side by side, or I brought David Grush on. There's no real details there. So I'm just a little confused, because that would be interesting if Luis Elizondo was actually the one that got it going, right? Who Jay Stratton reached out to Luis Elizondo. Hey, I got a guy at Space Force, David Grush. I'm not saying that's it, but whatever, that's interesting. Anyway, let's get back to Jay Stratton being a priority to testify. All right, let's get back on track here, because again, I'm not the only one saying this. Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp have been screaming this from the rooftops for years.
He is the only military man to work on 3 major UFO investigations, including one based here in Las Vegas. The official is Jay Stratton, and he has never spoken in public or even granted an interview, that is, until he sat down with our very own George Knapp.
I mean, they even tout that Jay Stratton coming out and doing an interview at all is such a big deal, right? Listen to how George Knapp ramps up Jay Stratton's career and how important he is. Again, a priority.
Every time I've done anything related to UAP or UFO has been my job. And what I mean by that, I didn't really have a passion growing up. I didn't have all the books. I didn't watch all the TV shows. I stepped into a job at the Defense Intelligence Agency where some things came across the desk.
From 2008 until 2021, pretty much everything UFO related came across Jay Stratton's desk. He made the decision to ditch the term UFO and use UAP instead, unidentified aerial phenomena. Stratton worked at the highest levels of naval intelligence, then was loaned to the DIA, where he excelled at reverse engineering.
And again, Jeremy and George have nothing but nice things to say about Jay Stratton. And again, how important he is. The best investigative UFO guy in the government ever. Yeah.
An exclusive interview with Jay Stratton.
He was not a UFO guy.
Yeah.
He was doing his job. And he made the case, hey, this is real. This is a genuine unknown. This is a national security matter. We need to take a look at it.
And the reason he said he did that was to destigmatize reporting of UFOs.
He might be the most important UFO, government UFO investigator ever, of all of them.
And then Jeremy even asked Jay Stratton about a particular UFO video that had been shown to Congress, and Jay Stratton had investigated this video, has information on it. This could be the smoking gun. I actually don't think it is, but I'm just saying it could be. Why wouldn't you bring Jay Stratton on in a hearing to ask him about this video?
The green footage from the USS Russell, which you know that George and I obtained and released. So you know somebody's filmed a screen and shouldn't have done that, but that's not me, it's journalists, there's shield law. Obtained and released, but you've seen it, they played it in Congress,
yep.
Right? Okay. Was that, to the best of your knowledge, is that a camera artifact of the iris? The shape that you see in the green footage, we'll call it green, is that an artifact of the iris?
To my knowledge, based on 3 PhDs, it is... The shape in that video is the shape that you're seeing, and that it is a pyramid, and that it is self-illuminating.
Fair to say, if it was a known U.S. technology,
I would have admitted that, right?
Right.
I said it was unknown.
But look, at the end of the day, George Knapp absolutely says it better than anyone else. Why Jay Stratton is a priority to testify.
I think it's kind of a long shot to get either one of these guys, but they'd be great. One is Jay Stratton. The other is Dr. Jim Lukatsky. And of course, Jay Stratton, we had him on Weaponized. We revealed him to the world in I think our 3rd episode. He's the only person we know of that was involved at every step of the way since OSAP, since that program created in 2007 at the Defense Intelligence Agency. He is the person who single-handedly did the first investigation of the Tic Tac case for OSAP. What we now know about Tic Tac was largely as a result of his work. He was part of OSAP, that first investigation. After OSAP ended, he was a key part of, with Lou Elizondo on ATIP. When that ended, he was brought back in by the U.S. Navy. He put together an unofficial team that eventually became formalized by Congress, became the UAP task force. I think a lot of the work that he and Travis Taylor did on that task force went into AIMSOG and AARO, and then he left government. He's still working on UFO related issues, but he'd be a great witness if they can ever talk him into it.
And where are we at now? This is Jeremy Corbell within the last couple months talking about 3 witnesses he wants to bring forward to a UFO hearing. What happened to Jay Stratton? Why are we not pushing for Jay Stratton to come forward?
There are whistleblowers, and there are 3 who have confirmed to me, firsthand whistleblowers, that they will testify under oath publicly at Congress.
And you might be thinking, well, Patrick, he's just not a priority. They'll get to him at some point. Oh, yeah? Take a listen to what Eric Burleson said in that same space that he did, talking about how Jay Stratton wasn't a priority.
Have y'all been allotted, like, do you have an idea of how long the task force is going to stay together? Because I know y'all had like a certain amount of time and y'all have kind of gone past that and there's still so much to cover. Do you have an idea like how long y'all are going to be functioning?
Yeah, my guess is till the end of this year.
So you're on a time crunch right now with all the things y'all got on your desk.
We are. And I tend to think that time crunches are a good thing coming from the private sector. You only really accomplish things if you set a deadline.
So the task force will be done by the end of the year. Think they're going to get to Jay Stratton by then? Is it just going to start over? Like, eventually he'll do it. His book needs to come out first, then he can testify so he can talk about the book. Is that where we're at? What's happening? Look, let me know what you think down in the comments, but I think I've done a very good job of convincing you that Jay Stratton is absolutely a priority to be testifying. In fact, according to everything I've shown in his resume, he would be the number 1 person who should be at these hearings. One quick announcement, vetters. Grant Levac, a Australian UFO researcher, has a petition to look into the Westall case even further. So I'm going to put a link down below. Please go sign the petition if you're able. We got to help each other out here, y'all. And Grant's boots on the ground trying to get more information about what I consider to be a very, very compelling UFO case. All right, vetters, we'll see you in the next one. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.